Hi, it's Sally. Just coming on here to talk about the spiritual awakening that I had and how it changed my perception of the world. So there are people at the moment looking for information online regarding the vax situation, and they can't figure it out. They can't find truth, and I'm just really aware of that as I'm going through different social media and seeing people's questions, about this. And of course, there's two sides of the fence. There's the side that says, well, I'm not having it because I don't trust it. And there's the other side that says, well, we should all have it and then we'll all be better. And so both sides are right, because both sides care. Okay. So that's the difficult situation that we have been put in. And I say we have been put in, and that's probably quite a victim mentality. But what we have to realize here is we're playing a game, or we are being played with, because we are allowing ourselves to be manipulated. We're open to manipulation as a humanity, right? Because we have laws and governments, we have to come under those laws and those governments. We could choose not to live like that. We could go out and live in the woods and be organic and self-sustaining. That would be perfect, wouldn't it? Because then we wouldn't have any laws that govern us. We could just be free beings, free spirits. I think actually gypsies and boat people have their own sovereign laws. I don't think they actually have to adhere to certain laws. So that's an interesting thing to look into. But as a human being, we're born free, and we like the animals, should we be caged and told what to do, or should we just use our intuition to live on the earth? Essentially, that's the change in perspective you get when you have a spiritual awakening. It's the big picture perspective. And that's what I'm here to talk about. I want to explain how those two sides see things, because I can understand it from both points of view. So the way of the world is to conform, okay? It's to be born, to learn things from parents, friends, school, work, and then family, and continually be reprogrammed and reconditioned in the same paradigm. That means the same story, the same understanding of the world. But, if you look outside the box, there are many people doing many different things. There's not just one way to live. Many people have many different perspectives and view of the world, because we're all different and have different experiences. So it's important to look outside of your own little box and get past what you were told, what you believe to be true, what society expects of you. Remember, we only live, or I'm talking to people who live in the Western world mainly, and we only see a small part of the truth of life on the planet, okay? Many countries are third world countries that are undeveloped, and live more freely, and some of those countries have very, very corrupt governments and systems of not democracy, but communism or other systems that try and rule and govern people. Ultimately, when you have a spiritual awakening, you see outside the box. Whatever your system is that governs you in the world, you recognize that actually I'm a free sovereign being, and why am I being governed by a system? When I have my intuition, I can speak with the divine forces around me. I know that I'm loved by this divine force that is around me. I'm supported. I don't need to be told how to live my life. I have everything within me. I have unlimited potential within myself. Essentially, a spiritual awakening usually comes from a breakdown, and then you break through into that perspective. But when in order to get to that perspective, your life has to fall apart in some way, and usually that comes about because of the really difficult living circumstances on the earth. So it's very difficult to live on this earth, because even if you have everything in the Western world, even if you are really lucky and go to born into a nice family, go to a lovely school, and manage to get a good job, go off to university, have a great business, able to employ people, you must be still aware of the people who live in poverty. I cannot go out into my city without seeing people who live in poverty everywhere. And, you know, the inequalities that go on in the world. And when you get to a point where your comfortable life and your conditioning falls apart for some reason, then you see it really, really clearly. You just see it. You see all the injustices of the world. You see the system that you've been brought up in is almost like you've had blinders put on you, You know those horses that wear those blinders that they can only see straight ahead, they can't see anything to the side. It's like that. You're just literally born into a system which tells you exactly what you should think, what you should do, how many children you should have, how much money you should earn, and all these expectations are on people. And then, things go wrong in life, things fall apart in life. Is it wrong or is it just life? Because ultimately, again, when you have a spiritual awakening, you realize that life's just experience, We put so much pressure on ourselves to stay in the positive side of things, in the good side of things, but actually experiencing a bad thing like losing your business or having a really big breakup in your family or something that goes like that really makes you question everything. Is that a bad thing, or is it just a fork in the road, a crossroads where you can actually just set yourself free and do some exploration, explore other things, don't stay on the same path. And for a lot of people, I think that's going to happen now, where people are searching and looking for ways of keeping their head above water as we're going through this difficult time where people will be losing their businesses and losing their jobs and having enormous stresses on their family life and finding themselves in situations that they wouldn't dream of being in. But as I said, a breakdown can be and should be always a breakthrough where we go and look for something more meaningful. And we begin to understand that the way we've lived isn't the only way. It's a way, but it's not the only way. And usually this awakening literally means you wake up and you open your eyes to other things. You have the blinkers taken off and you're able to look around and about and say, okay, this is how I feel. How must they feel? How must those people living in that country feel? And you become aware of the implications of the whole earth is going through this transition, and you just become more aware of it and more in tune with it. So a spiritual awakening is a good thing. A breakdown can be a good thing, and it can bring us to a place where we have a wider understanding of other people's mentality. The way that some people say, okay, well, I'm not taking that vaccination because I don't trust in it, Well, before you might have thought, well, why don't you trust in it? Surely the health service are here to help us. The government are here to help us. But when you have a spiritual awakening, you suddenly realize that actually this system is crazy. We are living in a crazy system. When, you fall apart, who is there to pick you up? You may be there losing your business, losing your family, losing everything. Is there anyone that would stand by you at that time? Because I know from experience of being a nurse and a personal trainer and a coach that, people have these life events and find that, for example, if somebody dies, right, your partner, long-term partner dies, people will just go away from you because they're worried, they're afraid, they don't know how to handle it. We don't do that in society. No, society is supposed to be, if you're single, then that's a no-no. If you're a couple, then that's good. If you're getting by on the streets, that's a no-no. But if you're in a house and you've got yourself sorted, then that's good. But, all of these people who are struggling and suffering these difficult circumstances in their lives are left alone because those other people who only see with the blinkers don't want anything to do with them because they believe that in some way they might catch it. You know, that you must only mix with people who are like you and successful people, so that means you stay successful. Well, of course that's true. We become like the 5 people we spend the most time with. However, if we are of a position where we're able to give to others because our lives are together and sorted, then why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we doing that? If each person opened their eyes and had an illumination of conscience and understood how the world works and understood, the dark side and the light side of life, and instead of being grateful, instead of being smug, right, for being on the light side and looking down on those people who are on the dark side or the wrong side of life and making judgments about them, instead of that, recognize that that's what the media and the government have instilled into you. Because you know what? A long time ago, when we were living as Indigenous groups, we would be a community and living together and working together as a team. And when a couple of people fell away and bad things happened to them, they might have had a really bad accident and lost the use of their legs, so they could no longer go out and hunt food. The rest of the community would gather together and support that person. But now we live in our separate houses. We look down on those that have tragedies and terrible things happening, saying, "Oh, wow, terrible. You must have done something terrible to get that, karma." But that's not the case. And I think a lot of people will find now that they're hitting the wall and not knowing where to turn and realizing that the world is like that. And there is an inequality. There is a dark side. And, when you go through that dark side, it opens your eyes. And after you've been through it and come through it, and you're stronger and you're grateful for it because you recognize the system for what it is, the system that has come away from us being Indigenous tribe, living in a community, caring for each other. Essentially, that's the difference between being conditioned and programmed by a government. Literally means govern means to control. Ment means mind, so mind control, to control your mind control. So, you recognize, oh, actually, in my instinct, my intuition says I should be looking after my community and my, extended people around me, family and friends, and but really I feel like I need to survive because that's the threat that comes at us from the news and from the TV. It's like, gosh, you need to care for yourself because you need to survive. You need to get all you can because at any moment it could go like this, and you could lose everything. So you need to store up and you need to hoard and you need to save and you need to get a biggest house as possible. And when you've got it, shut the door and don't let anyone in because God forbid, you start mixing with people who are who are going through difficult times, because then you might catch it. Do you see what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining this particularly well, but I'm trying to say that there are different perspectives in the world and people can't understand and see other people's perspectives until they've been in that situation. So never judge, because you never know, and you probably will go through it and then you'll know, and it'll be too late because you haven't looked after people particularly well. And so when you fall flat on your face, there's going to be no one there to look after you. Okay, potentially. Sometimes life just works in the way that the universe moves everyone out of your way so that you have to seek very hard for strength and in order to understand the truth and go within yourself to heal yourself and understand the truth of what life really is about. But for the purposes of this video, it's just about perspective, how to understand somebody else's perspective who's saying that they don't want the vaccine. Well, I'll tell you another reason people don't want the vaccine is not just because they don't trust their government, because they've been in a situation where they've been abandoned by the government and understand the truth of the system that we live in. But the other reason is because when you do get to that place where you hit you're stuck between a rock and a hard place and you haven't got anyone to support you, because that's the way the universe has given you this experience, you have to go within and seek for the love and the strength from the divine, which is accessible through the heart space. So when you do that, you get an infilling of the love from source. And that just doesn't come with just love. That comes with truth. So this is the life force, the life energy, the river of life, the living waters. And this comes with an enormous sense of power and energy and life. And you may have not realized it, but you soon wake up and think, gosh, wow, this is amazing. I feel so whole, so warm, so connected in my heart all the time. I have no void. I don't need to seek anything from outside of myself anymore. I'm perfectly whole, healthy and happy. And now I'm at a place where I'm so fulfilled that I can go and help other people, and I understand their plight, and I can be here as a light and a lamp and a lighthouse and a lantern for the rest of the world, so that I can just share love, the love that I receive from the divine. And that comes with a spiritual awakening as well. So truth comes with the spiritual awakening. You can see literally through everything. You can see past everything. You understand the whole chess game that we're playing. Life is about a game of chess. It's about the dark versus the light. And it's literally about understanding that the love and the strength gives you the joy and the peace that you can use to go through life. It's like building your house on the rock instead of the sand. It's like, this is what we build our self upon, because it never goes. If you rely on something like a house or a business or a job or a person, they go, and that's what people find, and will be finding now, that those things will be disappearing from your life, and you'll be searching around for something outside of yourself, and you won't be able to find it, because it's not outside of yourself. The truth is inside. The truth is the love within us that we can access from the divine, that it fills our heart space. It's a spiritual thing, a energetic thing, because everything is energy. And literally all we're doing is tapping into a new energetic field that we've not been used to before. We didn't even know it existed, because our government and the systems tell us that all there is what we see. Okay, and if you've listened to any of my videos, you'll know that it's all a hologram anyway, and what we see here, taste, touch and smell, is just an experience, and that's it. But that's getting more into the holographic reality that we live in. But if you really just want to understand people's perspectives, I would suggest that you do your research. Don't just judge people. Don't just sit there in your castle and look down your nose and say, well, they're wrong and I'm right. We have to see everybody's perspective, and we have to understand where they're coming from. And you're not going to do that unless you go out there and listen to people and really understand their perspective. And if you're feeling something intuitively, like, actually, this doesn't feel right to me, this something about this vaccine, this thing I'm not happy about, I don't feel right within myself, but all my friends are taking it, who are you going to listen to? Bearing in mind what I've just said, when shit hits fan, everything from outside of you falls away. You are the only person here, right? You are the player, the main player. You are in your body. You're not in anyone else's. You are having your experience. What are you going to do? Are you going to listen to yourself, or are you going to listen to everyone else? That's the big lesson here. The big lesson of spirituality is go within, trust yourself, love yourself, receive love from the divine, and don't listen to anyone outside of yourself. That's the message. Because all our lives, we are taught, we grow up, we listen to people outside of ourselves. We are defined by people outside of ourselves. They literally tell us whether we're good at something or we're not good at something. They literally define us. Some really pushy parents will push you into a specific job because that's what they want. And everything is a manipulation. If it comes from outside of you, it's a manipulation. So the only truth is the seed that we have within us, and that seed is to be watered by the divine light of love and to be grown and to be expressed. And that's the truth of how we used to be as Indigenous people before the Western system was created. So we used to be born, and then we used to be free to flourish and create something and to give of our gifts. But now, in the last couple of 100 years, it's been much more about the systems, much more about people being controlled to build somebody else's dream. And, we're just like robots already. We're just like robots running around like ants, building up somebody else's palace, because 2% of the population of the globe own, I think it's like 80% of the wealth, isn't it? Something like that. And to me, that just seems absolutely mad. But these are the people who are in charge of the earth because they decided that that's what they were going to do. And actually, it's not them itself, it's the spirit behind it, right? Because we're in a spiritual war. This game of chess, dark versus light, is about the beings and the entities that live within the humans on the earth. So it's not really about humans at all. It's about the spirit that lives within that human. And what I'm going to put to you today is, don't wait. If you're sitting here, listening to me talking about looking at other people's perspectives regarding the vaccine, don't wait for this to hit you. Don't wait for you to have your dark night of the soul and to be taken under the wave. Pull in the light. You can just say a little prayer and say, actually, if there is a higher energy that I am not aware of, and if there is a higher source of power that I know nothing about, then, I'd like to know. So I'm putting it to you out there, wherever you are, that I would really like to know. I'd like to be given a couple of signs. I'd like to speak to the right people. I'd like to be able to start my journey into spirituality, because I'm really, really interested in knowing a little bit more about, what else is out there, the supernatural, the stuff that we're not talked about. And that would help me understand. And I really like to be able to switch on to the truth about what's going on in the world at the moment. I'd really like that information. And I'm willing to make those changes in myself to clean up my act, to have good thoughts and good feelings and good actions towards others, and to be open and honest and try and listen to people and to be understanding of the big picture. I'm really just going to empty myself of all my beliefs and programming and conditioning that I've had since I was a child. And I'm prepared to have a new eyes, new eyes and new ears and a fresh perspective, because something's not quite right in the world. Some people are saying some things and I'm not quite sure what that is, what they're talking about. So because I'm not sure, I'm not going to look down my nose at them from my high horse or from my castle and judge them as being mad or crazy or, difficult people. I'm going to ask the question, why are they saying these things? Why are people going in their own time with no agenda? They're not selling you anything. Why are they putting their own lives in danger to spread the news that this is a plandemic? Why? Why is that? In the past, we've had other things go on, like other, threats, viruses. We've never had a whole bunch of people rioting about it, right? We've never had the whole world shutting down about it. We've never had this before. This isn't normal. And people have to understand that many, many people were woken up a few years before this pandemic and all of this kicked off to be told what was going on. And I'm one of those people who has been prepared to speak up and speak out truth about what's going on in the world. And you can listen to it, but ultimately you have to go within. That's my point. My point is, the only real relationship we have is the relationship with ourself, right? Because everything else can fall away. Yeah? So get quiet, get still, go within, listen to your own heart space, listen to your intuition, and speak to the divine love, the source of divine love, and just say, I really want to know the truth. I really want to know, what is it I feel about the way the world is at the moment? How is it that, there's such separation in the world? And why do I feel so disconnected from my own soul? Why do I feel this void within? Just ask these questions and things will start happening for you. Ask divine love to show itself to you. Be prepared to open yourself and say, you know what, I'm humbling myself. I don't know everything. I'm not going to look down my nose and judge other people anymore. I'm going to open myself up to the field of information that I come from, the infinite field of information. And I'm going to ask for divine insight, because some people know something I don't know. And I just want to know what they're talking about. And you will never get truth from the television, because the television is man-made, okay? And it's also a corrupt system of media which is programming you. That's why they're called programs. Anything that is programming you from somebody else is not coming from you. So it's not organic. It's not about you, it's about them. What I'm saying is spiritual awakening is a way that we get to see truth, and it's our truth. It's from within. It's not from anyone outside of us, including me. I'm not going to sit here and tell you things. I want you to go within and ask the questions and stay open and curious. Because there is a system where in this world we have a power over structure, where a whole bunch of people think that they have the right to tell other people what to do. And how much money they should have and how many things they should have and all of this stuff, how long they should live, and that, whether they should or shouldn't be ill. I mean, even that in itself, the actual illness itself is like, everybody's so afraid of being ill and dying. But look at the indigenous people. It's only been in the last few hundred years that we've had hospitals and an NHS and society is living so much longer than they were. Literally the last 50 years, that's why in the last 50 years, the population of the world has just exploded. It's exploded. It's gone from about, 60 years ago even, maybe 2 billion people on the planet. Right? We've lived in this era for 6,000 years. 60 years ago, there were 2 billion people on the planet. And in the last 40 years, 50, 60 years, that 2 billion has increased to about 8 billion. Now, that in itself is a strange thing, isn't it? So that in itself has got to tell you that we're living in a time when things are non-sustainable, because we know that, because that's what the governments are all telling us about climate change and everything. Yes, so it's not sustainable. But why have we got to this place? That's the question. We're no longer organic beings of light, are we? We are manipulated, conditioned, and pulled into a system where we believe that we need to hang on to our life, and we should not accept death as being a reality, when clearly it is, because people die, animals die, trees die, they circle back around again like everything does. But my point is that spirituality is about the truth. It's about life. And if you only have to look out the window, as I've said, go back to nature. Watch the David Attenborough documentary, the most recent one. That's really interesting. And then you'll be able to put it all into perspective. But if you look at a tree has seasons. It's spring, summer, autumn, and winter. In the winter, the leaves die off. The tree dies back. It dies, right? But the tree doesn't die itself. Its consciousness continues. Its life continues. And then in the spring, it starts again. And that's the seasons of life. And that's what we do as human beings. We might have a life, and then our consciousness drifts off somewhere else, and then we come back and have another one. What's the deal with dying? Some other countries will celebrate it. It's like, well, she's done a bit and she's been freed from the world. It's a completely different perspective. And until you've gone through a spiritual awakening, you may not understand it, but stay open. Stay open. Don't wait until you have a dark night of the soul, because an illumination of conscience is coming for each soul, and it will be, if you already have opened your heart to people and the truth around you, then it will be less dramatic and difficult. If you start becoming aware of the world and the state of the world, and really start researching, how we came to be where we are now as a Western society, and really start expanding your mind and reading things that expand your mind, you would understand why people are saying they don't want the vaccination. You would know. It's not because they don't want, it's not about the fact that it's not been tested. It's more about the fact that we know the big picture. We know what the world dark side are trying to do to human population. And we know why. And some of us are okay with it. The ones who are really, really, really spiritual and expanded. That's the thing you get with spirituality. You get peace because you understand everything. The big picture. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I hope that it helps. And just keep searching and seeking, because I know that you found this video at the right time for you. And you will find other videos that are also at the right time for you. Because your soul will lead you and divinely guide you into what you need to know at the right time for you. And so I'm glad that I'm putting this video out so I can help you at this time. And you can subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Some of them will be available to you and some of them won't, because you won't be ready for some of it. But some of it you will be. So just stay open to the way the divine matrix works. You're very loved, supported and guided if you just get to your heart space and say, okay, I'm ready. Divine source of love, show me the truth. Lead me to people and things and places where I need to be so that I know what's best for me right now. And so that I can understand what's going on in the world. In truth, my truth. You say, my truth, not my truth, not my truth, not Sally's truth, your truth. Because that's where truth resides, within. Okay? Thank you for being here and sharing this time with me today. Love, light and truth is all, so take care. Bye.